So does the country of Mexico really have a gentrification problem? I don't think so, and that's why my thumbnail, I called it a myth. Now, there are certainly some areas in Mexico that have a definite problem with gentrification, and that's what this video is going to be about, going over some of those issues. If you're new to the channel, my name is Troy. Welcome to Silver Fox in Mexico, and let's get to it. So today I'm in Morelia. I'm going to do a walk and talk through this park. So sometimes you'll see me, sometimes you'll see the activities going on in the park because it's Sunday afternoon, and you'll be able to see what people actually do here. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's talk about the gentrification problem. Recently there was a protest in Mexico City, and I've seen on social media where people are calling it riots, and I can tell you, remembering the LA riots, it was definitely not a riot. What I saw happening in Mexico City was basically vandalism geared up with some voyeurism. When you have a bunch of people standing around watching or filming, you have some voyeurism mixed in with some people social influencers that are trying to make a quick buck off of people's problems or issues. And that's what I saw. People standing around and filming a couple of people breaking something or setting an effigy in fire in a street. In a real riot, for example, the LA riots, nothing was safe. You had cars were on fire, they were lighting police cars on fire. The South Koreans in Koreatown were standing on top of their shops with shotguns trying to protect themselves. Like, it was completely violent and out of control. And that's not what I saw at all. So let's keep it in perspective. It was simply some protest, and the people that are protesting definitely have a reason to be upset. You have neighborhoods in Mexico City, Roma, Condesa, Polanco, that are have a lot of foreigners that have moved in there, primarily Americans. They've raised the rents. The Airbnbs are taking over a lot of the apartments, and it's a problem. A lot of the locals are being pushed out, and they resent the fact that their neighborhoods where they once lived, that the rents are too expensive, that the places they used to eat are no longer there. And so they're kind of pissed off, and I don't blame them. I mean, how would you feel if your neighborhood that you used to live in, that you loved, all of a sudden everything's changed and the restaurants everybody's speaking English? Now, they had a choice at some point. You could look at it from a business perspective and say, I want to keep my local shop where the locals ate. But these people are business people. People saw opportunities. Yeah, I'm sure some of them are Americans that have bought property and changed it over, but I'm sure most of it is probably Mexicans that are capitalizing on a good opportunity. They see digital nomads come in. They want services in English. They want food that's familiar to them, and they're catering to them and making a really good buck. One of the things that the protesters are complaining about is that the Americans aren't paying any taxes. Well, that's not really true, because there's a VAT tax. So you're paying it's kind of like a sales tax on everything. So every beer, every taco, the rent that they pay on Airbnb, it's all being taxed. And they make a lot of money, and they spend a lot of money. So normally when you look at different budgets, you realize that the gringos are doing some damage, but on the other hand, they're also collecting way more taxes from the foreigners than they would from the locals. That's just a fact. A lot of Mexico is a cash economy. So when you go eat at that taco stand on the side of the road, those guys aren't paying taxes, okay? If you go and you have a sit-down restaurant, you have to pay a tax. It's right there on the receipt. Just go ahead and look at it. Hang on, swing around so you can see some of the other part of this park. This is actually a boulevard, and it's one of my favorite places to come and walk. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So let's get back to some of the other areas of Mexico that have a problem with gentrification. Tulum, was once a really tiny beach town that social influencers went to, filmed it, and it's a boom bust. It was going great, but let me tell you something. It's dangerous now. The gangs have moved in, cartel has moved in because there was such a high demand for drugs. They way overbuilt apartments and condominiums. I know this for a fact because I have a Mexican friend. She's trying to sell an apartment in Tulum in a very good location. It's been for sale for over 2 years. She's gone through 9 realtors. She can't sell it. Why? There's just too many empty properties there and people aren't buying. Another place that has gentrification is Puerta Vallarta. And it's been a haven of Americans and a lot of Canadians for decades. And anytime that you have, a really good weather and a beach and easy access, with airport, you're going to have people fly from all over the world to go there. And it's going to price out the locals. But is that really any different than, say, Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, when a lot of the Chinese decided to leave China, not actually leave China, but trying to pull money out of China and protect it from the Chinese government? I mean, if you go look at the home prices in Vancouver, you can't find anything for less than $1 million. A lot of Vancouver people have been priced out of their homes. I've talked to people that have left Vancouver. They said they can't afford anything, so they left because of the Chinese. If you look at Medellin, Colombia, the prices there have doubled or tripled since COVID. Why? The crypto bros, the Bitcoin brothers, all those guys that had bought Bitcoin early on, they're multimillionaires. They're down in Medellin. Why? It has beautiful weather all year round. They have lots of amenities. They have actually, I think it's called Poblanco, is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Medellin. It's pretty similar to what you would find in Roma or Condesa, and that's where those digital nomads and the crypto brothers have gone. And they've priced out a lot of people there. They have to move out. One of the things that people forget, I think, is that the world is changing. The inequality is huge, but also the opportunities. You now have the ability to make an income online, and people are moving wherever they want, rather being stuck in the country. And that's just the nature of how things are going to be changing. People can get up and go, and it's a currency arbitrage. If you're earning euros or dollars and you go to a place where the currency isn't as strong, it's even better. Let's see, the last time I looked at the Colombian peso to the dollar, it was like 4,100 pesos to $1 US. I think right now it's about 18.5 pesos to Mexican pesos to the American dollar. So your money goes way further. So if you had that ability, why wouldn't you go take advantage of it? But let's get back to Mexico and its gentrification problem. So how can the Mexican government help alleviate some of these problems? Well, the new government has a plan right now that in a couple of years they will start building lots of inexpensive homes for the low-income citizens. It's a couple years off from what I've seen in the plan. But if you look at Mexico City or another place like Querétaro, where are they going to put those homes? There's no tracts of land in the city. They're going to have to put them out farther and farther. And then those people do have a place to stay, but they're going to end up having a 2-hour bus ride commute into the city to be able to go to work. All right, hang on. Let me switch this back around. I'll walk back the other way. All right. So this neighborhood that I'm walking through, this is the Chapultepec area. Over here is Chapultepec Nueve, and I believe over here is Chapultepec Sur, but it's basically the whole area is Chapultepec. So one of the things the Mexican government has started to do, at least in Mexico City, and I believe it's starting in Puerta Vallarta as well, is they're looking to limit the amount of days that you can put an Airbnb on listings. For example, in Mexico City, from my understanding, you can now only list your Airbnb property 180 days out of the year. I think they could go look at it a little bit differently. I think that they should limit the amount of apartments, whole apartments or whole houses that can be used as Airbnbs. And I think that they should embrace where you rent a room, where the host actually lives on premises. Some of my best Airbnb experiences have been when I've rented just a room and I was able to sit down and talk to the owner of the Airbnb. They shared their experiences. We had a cultural exchange. Sometimes they spoke some English, or really their English was really good, or sometimes we just use a translator and to tell you, hey, this is my favorite spots, go here, don't go here, it's dangerous. You can learn so much, and that interaction can go a long way towards building faith in other cultures coming to visit, and you learn to appreciate new things that your host can tell you. And I see lots of people on the expat groups, hey, where should I go to eat? Well, they're asking other gringos where to go eat. I don't ever ask people like that. I'm asking a Mexican, hey, where's the best place to go? And you know what? It's always someplace I've never heard of. And so you learn those things by interacting with the culture. And I think that's part of what some of these protests are about, is that in certain neighborhoods, in certain areas, all the gringos, stay in one area, they speak English, they don't want to make any attempt to learn anything from the locals. And I can tell you that between living in Morelia and Querétaro for the last 3.5 years, the neighborhoods that I've lived in, I think I've seen maybe 3 foreigners in that time. When I want to go talk English and see foreigners, I go seek them out at the expat events, or in Morelia they have a weekly breakfast on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's who I go see. Otherwise I don't see them. I'm trying to learn my Spanish, and I hang out with Mexicans. So I'm going to end right there with my thoughts, and I would really appreciate it if you would leave your comments. How do you feel about this, quote, gentrification? Are too many foreigners here? Are they causing that much of a problem? And while you're thinking about that, let me point out that Mexico City metro area has 23 million, give or take, 23 million residents, and there's estimated 20,000 Americans there. So let me say that again. 20,000 Americans in a city of 23 million. And how much impact do they have? And, should they have the right to be there? So let me know in the comments. I really appreciate it. I want to see some interesting discussion with this, because I know this is a hot topic with a lot of people, and I just have a different perspective on it. Again, this isn't meant to belittle or downplay the people that are having problems in those areas, because they're definitely having problems. I just think that they have a hope that those neighborhoods are going to go back to the way they were before, and I just don't think that's going to happen. I think the world's changing, and they're trying to hang on to a past that maybe isn't going to come back. So let me know, and if you like this video, please share or subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.